extremely law-abiding. But this is a case where we must actually tell the government that we are the taxpayers, we are not mendicants. And we are entitled to get services commensurate with the taxes. If what the Constitution mandates is not being done at the minimal level, then there is no reason for us to pay tax. And if this continues, we are even thinking of a no-tax campaign. And I think it will be a popular campaign. They will have to pay taxes subsequently. But we must do something radical if need be, because the law and the Constitution are on our side. Morality and democratic tradition are on our side. And we must make them wake up, take notice. And we must not give them an option. We must not be mendicants here. The second is, money is important. In fact, even more than the formal powers given, if money is simply transferred, let us say out of the 20,000 plus per capita spent by the municipal corporation, if 10% goes to this committee, it's not an added money, it's not extra money. It's merely money that the corporation anyway would have spent or is spending. Now the corporation no longer needs to spend on the local small works. So it's really money spent by Y instead of X. It's not new money, it's not additional money. Let that be very clear. And once it is there, we forfeit the right to go to the ward officer or the municipal corporation or municipal commissioner and say, look, something is done, or complain in respect of these things transferred to us. That is the deal. If we mess up in some localities, I'm sure we will mess up. That's our problem. Many localities will do well. People see the comparison. If Mr. Shubhankar's ward does spectacularly well, why is some other ward doing badly? Let there be that awareness. And the third one, the last one. Right now, the 14th Finance Commission is in place. The former RBI governor, Dr. Venugopal Reddy, is the chair of that. The Finance Commission is entrusted with the task of transferring resources to the third tier also. It's one of the few good things working in this country very well. Finance Commission is religiously appointed every 5 years, and so far its recommendations have been always implemented without a single exception on all financial matters. And one of the tasks given to them is transfer to the third tier of local government, not merely to the second tier, namely the states, but the third tier. Since Rangarajan's Finance Commission, third tier is getting some money, but only nominal money. What we all should do from Mumbai, with Mr. Shubhankar, Rebiro, and all of you, with very carefully prepared presentations, I think you all should go, as many people as possible, to Delhi, or when they come to this city, and I'm sure Venu will come to this city often enough with this team, make a forceful presentation that at least 33%, ideally half, but let's settle for 33%, of the central devolution under the Finance Commission must go to the local communities directly. It's not a loss to the state. Again, state does not have to do these things. It may be a panchayat, it may be a municipal ward, it may be something else. The state then absolves itself of the responsibility to do these things once it's transferred there. It's not loss of money. And it's an increasing kitty. Every year the money keeps growing by another 10% or so. Right now it is 422,000 crores in the country. 2012-13, the Finance Commission devolution to the states is 422,000 crores. You heard me right, 4,22,000 crores. Next year it will be probably 4,60,000 crores. It keeps growing. Once you get into that formula, a definite and sizable share of the money as constitutional devolution transferred directly to the local governments at the community level, the Nagar Raj, the municipal ward, or the panchayat, not the district panchayat, not the intermediate panchayat, but the village panchayat. And let them create an ombudsman. Because the money is given, let the state government, I would actually tell the state government, in addition to this, because we are asking for this power and money, you create a powerful ombudsman for Mumbai city. If any of us misuse money, you hang us. If that part of the deal also comes, a lot of the arguments can be easily countered. If that is done, then there will be an enduring basis for this city, for urban rural, for this state, and for this country itself. And Mumbai is the best place to start, because after all, this is where everything began, this quest for freedom. Not as Bharat Mata ki Jai, but as a source of empowerment of every citizen. I ask of you not to relent and be a little more aggressive, and I'm very conservative. Ordinarily, I'm extremely, all of you, those of you who know me know very well, I'm far too constitutional and conservative. But there are moments when, within the bounds of Constitution, we must be a little more radical. Not stop the traffic, but certainly saying that unless the Constitution is implemented in letter and spirit, we will refuse to pay the municipal taxes is not an unreasonable demand. And I'm sure the government will have to relent very quickly. And if you do that, all of us from wherever we are in the country will be delighted to come and stand by you and sit with you, because what you do here is going to make an impact to the whole country. Godspeed to all of you, and thank you very much for this fantastic effort. Good night.
While they're putting the questions together, because there must be a lot of repetitive questions, you could probably give it to them on the table so they could decide. Yeah, no, give it to them on the table, so let them decide who's going to answer which question, okay? I wish to share something with you, because this meeting is not going to just end like this. We felt that something should come out of this meeting, so we have started a signature campaign prior to this meeting. We already have over 3,000 signatures, and there is an online campaign going on. More signatures will be taken in the next couple of days. And now you will ask us, what are you going to do with all these signatures? These signatures, along with a few of us, are meeting with Mr. Prithviraj Chavan, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, to convince him that the Nagaraj bill must be passed without any amendments at the winter assembly session at Nagpur beginning on the 19th of December. He has already agreed to meet us. He has given us an appointment. And as you know, politicians only understand numbers. Therefore, the more signatures we have, the better we will be. I also wish to, I'm very happy to note that you people haven't noticed that we have 3 politicians sitting in the audience somewhere from different parties. The best part of it was they wanted to come. We didn't invite them. They wanted to come for the meeting as residents of Bandra and Khar. So I think it's very creditable that they have done so. They can listen to what the citizens want. Thank you very much wherever you are sitting. And they definitely said you're not coming on the stage or sitting in the first 3 rows either. So thank you very much. We now begin the question hour session.
We have collated the questions, and the first question is, knowing that the government of the day is not going to implement the model Nagaraj bill, can you spell out what we do next to help bring about this goal? We are more than ready to do so.
I think it will be rather difficult to exhaustively list out the kind of amendments which are required to be made in the bill which has been passed. But you have a Sadbhavana Manch which has circulated some documents, and I think it gives a comparative study of the model bill vis-a-vis the bill which has been passed by the Maharashtra legislature. And wherever there are important departures, those deviations will have to be corrected. The first and foremost is that the ward committees must be set up at the electoral ward level, not the administrative ward level. If not at every electoral ward level, at the most 2 electoral ward levels put together. Because in South Mumbai, you have wards, you have electoral wards which have a population relatively less than what it is in the suburbs. And therefore, we must bring down the level of the representation at the ward level. And secondly, we must also ensure that the bill, as Mr. Jayaprakash Narayan was mentioning, carries out the spirit, in letter and spirit, the 74th Amendment by devolving funds, by devolving specific functions and allocating specific functionaries at the disposal of the electoral ward level, so that whatever are the problems of the local citizens and residents, they can be taken care of through these funds and the functionaries at their disposal. According to me, these are the two main changes which are required to be made. But this is not an exhaustive list. This is something which can be studied. And I think the point which Mr. Jayaprakash Narayan made, that there should be a committee which can go into this bill which has been passed. The government has already constituted a committee, as I find from these papers which have been circulated. Eminent people like retired Judge of the High Court, Mr. Dharmadhikari, and Mr. P.B. Patil, who happened to head a similar Panchayati Raj, that is Zilla Parishad level decentralization commission, are already members. And possibly this committee can co-opt or call some of us and others who want to give their suggestions in person. And within 2 or 3 sittings, I am absolutely sure that the existing bill can be properly streamlined and can be brought into conformity with the letter and spirit of the Constitution, which wants meaningful decentralization and not just what we call malampatti, not just a facade.
Our next question is, what should ideally be the ratio of representation in the Nagaraj vis-a-vis the population?
This is something that many of us have been discussing for a long time. One of the problems is if you merely limit it to, let us say, residents' welfare associations, a large part of many cities comprise of shanty towns and ghettos, and there is no homogeneity. Therefore, the best way is 1 per polling booth or 1 per 2 polling booths, or actually a male and a female, 2 members for 2 polling booths, so that there is 50% women's representation automatically. So some such thing becomes automatic. You don't have to now rethink. Already they exist. The polling booth areas, they exist. That I think would be the best way.
Thank you. Will decentralizing aid in solving problems, lack of accountability and more corruption?
Absolutely not. There will be greater accountability because there is greater need, there is greater incentive because it's mine, and because it affects us, all of us, even if you're not members of that committee, you don't have the time, you will certainly pay attention to issues that matter to you in that locality. Corruption will be much more exposed.
If everybody says, not in my backyard, for essential services, how can empowered communities solve this problem?
Precisely why. I have seen umpteen cases where everybody wants a local electrical transformer, a common issue, but not in my backyard. Now, there's no way a corporator or an MLA or a minister can decide that. Ultimately, the street, the mohalla, they all must sit together and figure out, because if you want this transformer and better electrical service, it has to be located somewhere. You figure out where it should be. It has to be done only locally. You can't do it by fiat. You can't do it by partisanship. Actually, precisely for this reason, community works.
With RTI being silenced, how could citizens' empowerment help? What is the way forward? With RTI activists being silenced, how could citizens' empowerment help? What is the way forward?
RTI activists being threatened or attacked or silenced in some cases. Now, true, in a large country there are on occasion extreme perversions, but they are not the norm. After all, we are all sitting here on a Sunday and we are lampooning the governments and the political parties. I don't see any policeman with a gun toting here. So no, let's not exaggerate the problems. And when you look at community empowerment, it's not a fight against an individual. So nobody's personal fiefdom is now attacked. That will come on a different occasion in a different form. So I don't see any personal attack or any, there will be an institutional problem. All the corporators will be enemies of this. Because in India we have a standard rule. All power up to my level, but no, not below me. If you are union government, you think you are the paragon of all virtues, states are useless. If you are the state government, you think union is useless and people don't know anything, therefore at your level. If you are a city government, then the city, not the corporators. If you are the corporator, up to the corporator, but not to the ward committee. So this is the standard thinking because we believe in theory X. The problem is institutional, but we must create the right kind of incentives for that. I don't really see any physical threat and any physical attacks of that kind. I don't at all envisage that.
Can ALM representatives take the place of area Sabha representatives? Can more power not be given to ALMs?
An ALM is more or less a similar concept as an area Sabha in the sense that the people from a particular neighborhood, they form an ALM, and therefore actually if you have an area Sabha, representative, it will be as good as having a representative at the ALM level.
This is my question, and there is one more thing to this which I wanted to ask. The government will throw back at us and they will say if the criteria for that areas are not being managed properly because one corporator cannot handle such a big ward, they will throw back at us and tell us, all right, like how we are breaking up states for better governance, we will break up this ward into two wards and increase the number of corporators. What would be the reply we would have?
While ideally what you are saying may be right, after all, there has to be some legislative provision which lays down the norms on the basis of which the wards or sub-wards or whatever you may call them can be determined. There can be a range. You cannot say that only 1,000 or 1,200. You can say an area Sabha which will comprise maybe 900 to 1,200 voters, and 2 or 3 area Sabhas put together shall have one area Sabha representative, something like that. So you can lay down a kind of flexible framework on the basis of which the representation can be lowered down to the lower level of the community, and for that some broad guidelines or norms can be laid down. It can't be left totally to each and every community. Some broad guidelines can be laid down, and within those guidelines the requisite framework can be actually brought about.
Sir, can I just say something? When we talk about ALMs, the ALMs of a particular area go to the same polling booth to vote. Okay? So if we are looking at representatives from polling booths, then automatically the members of that ALM can also become the representatives of that polling booth. I think that would probably answer Anil's question, because if you take a road, 99 to 100% of the people on that road go and vote in one polling booth. And if you are getting, say, either a male or a female representative of one polling booth or 2 polling booths, you automatically will create active members of the ALM who would become the representatives of that polling booth.
Only one thing is...
Can you reiterate how...
Just let me react.
It's absolutely a sound suggestion. We must recognize that this is a formal statutory tier that we're talking, not an informal voluntary association. Now, once that is there, eventually it must conform to certain standards. Initially we can pick and choose. Eventually it has to be by a uniform standard. That means it has to be elected. But the only thing is, instead of a formal election with a ballot paper and secret ballot, etc., if, as it happens in many village elections, a general body is summoned from each area Sabha, the polling booth. Typically only the interested citizens will come. And there, by show of hands or some other quick mechanism locally, but a formal process, not informal, you choose representatives. What happens is the ones who are most articulate, who are most committed and concerned are more likely to be thrown up as leaders. If it's a formal secret ballot elective process, given India's current condition, you have the standard process. So we can have both the formal elective element, at the same time encourage the best to come forward. One of the problems is at the polling booth level, people of this caliber are not willing to come forward. They feel it's infra-dig. How can I rub shoulders with these people? The people who have the ability must also shed that class bias and actually come forward. And then it works well. Otherwise, the same terrible things that the larger democracy they work, they also visit here. And about your question, there is no way you can have 1,000 or 2,000 corporators. And two, it's not about merely the size. It is about participation. Damn it, we are taxpayers. We know best. It's a principle of subsidiarity. As far as is practicable, we must be involved in decision making affecting our own locality. Where the economies of scale or technical complexities do not allow a local decision making or execution, then of course you have to have a larger tier. So we must emphatically argue this. They're not going to allow this. They'll use 1,000 arguments. Corporators are going to be our enemies, MLAs are going to be our enemies.